Okay, I'm going to kind of do a series of videos here. I'm going to make them shorter so that they're easier to load and easier to follow. So let's say you have just you could either have a wax or maybe you already have a wide band, but you have somebody that wants the band to be wider. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to make it wider in the clay. So you're going to take this side, which is the positive side, you're going to put that down. And I like to have the hole here facing to my right. You might want to do it different, but that's how I like to do it. So for the first bit of clay, I'm just going to push it in with my thumb. That way I can push it really close to the edge and get it in there really well. The second batch I'm going to push in with this dowel. Now some people like to hammer it. This part of my shop is kind of a trailer, and so if I hammer things, everything bounces in here, so I'm just going to push it in. But if you push hard enough, it compacts it really well. And now I'm going to take and I'm going to scrape it off. And so you know you got it in there really well if it comes all the way to the edges and it's nice and you don't have holes and stuff in there. So at this point we would take some talc. So I've just taken a sock and I pounce it on there. And then we have this wax here. Now you could also have maybe something in metal, but I'm going to use a wax. And I like to have a nice sprue. So, and if you take something flat like this and you set it on here and you push down, so what we want to do is we want to push this down farther than halfway. Try and get it even too. The blue wax is great because it has a little bit of spring to it, and it has a less chance of breaking. Okay, so that's a little beyond halfway. So now I'm going to take the talc again, and I'm going to powder this. Then you want to make sure that there's no extra clay on this edge here, because you want the two halves to be tightly together. Okay, so now we're going to take this, set it down on there, and it'll fits right in place. And you want to take your talc again, put it on there. So now we're going to take, and again I'm going to push this in with my thumb. By doing this, I can get it really tight around the pattern or the wax. So if you're not really strong, using the hammer or the end of a mandrel works really well to get this nice and compact. Fortunately, I can push it down compact enough. So we're going to scrape this off. You want to make this flat. Then you pick this up, scrape that off. I like to clean this off a bit, like that. Then I like to set it flat down and pull it straight apart. So now we have, let's see, we have the two halves here. We're gonna, since it's a round band, you can kind of twist it. You can pull that out, and so this side here wasn't quite as low. So now what we can do is we can push this in farther. And by doing this, and you want to make sure it's flat, by doing this we can make this band much wider than it actually is, because now we've increased the depth of the pattern. So we have that side. We can put it back in this side. We can push this down a ways. You want to take your time and pull it off so it doesn't pull up the clay. Kind of the problem with doing a video, you're trying to do things too quick. There we go. So now we can take this, we can set it aside. I like to take my thumb, create my funnel here. It seems to make a really nice shape for the funnel, and it gets everything nice and compact. And I have different sizes here in these little round bars, and I can create my sprue. Now oftentimes you see people that are doing sand casting, and they make this, they make the funnel touch right up to the ring, and while it usually does cast pretty well, you end up with this gigantic funnel that you got to cut off, and you don't need to do that. If you have a little bit of a sprue, like I have here, when you cut it off, it's going to be easy. You can kind of blow that out. Clean that up. Everything you can clean out in this part is going to make cleanup of the piece a lot easier. And you want to take all these edges and round them, and by doing that you're going to remove the chances that as that molten metal shoots in, it's not going to break off the clay and push it down and cause holes in your casting. You can kind of blow it out, so that's a really nice looking impression there. Just going to make that a little wider. Just like that. Grab the other side and do the same thing. Now the next video after this, I'm going to go through the venting, and then we'll cast it. So basically we've taken an 8mm band, and by pushing it down in each side a little lower, we're probably going to get a 10 to 12mm band And if you really took your time, you could almost figure out a way to know exactly how thick it's going to be if you were to measure everything. There, so at this point, I think I'm going to stop. We just want to make sure there's no clay that's gotten onto these edges here, because if the two halves aren't flush, you're going to get metal that's going to kind of squish up between the two halves. So I think we're about done. Let's see how I've made everything smooth, made everything rounded. So when that metal goes in, it's going to go right around that. There's no edges it's going to hit and break off. Okay, we'll stop there. All right, thank you.